Kit Laughlin. I'm the Senior Fraud Controls Manager for Close Brothers. They look after motor finance, premium finance, savings, assets, and I'm literally here to understand what fraud controls we can put in place to stop criminal activity.
You started working with Resistant AI how long ago at this point?
Gosh, well, we were introduced via CIFAS probably a year last October, and we made contact with Yuri and the guys, and then we started a trial period in January, February last year, which went up, which started after the contracts were signed. A couple of months later in April, a month or so into a very, very successful pre-contract period time. And then finally from August through to now, we've been rolling with Resistance AI. It's been a fabulous relationship so far.
So could you explain to us a little bit, like what was the challenge you had that drove you to talk to Resistant?
So you may be aware, but we look at motor finance in particular is what my role initially was. And we were seeing things such as false bank statements coming through, false payslips coming through, documentation which was a bit spurious, which was getting more and more difficult to the human eye to ascertain whether it was fraudulent or not. Criminals are progressing as quickly as the financial market is progressing, so I like to think I've been dealing with fraud prevention for a number of years. I'm quite good at it. I work 7 days a week on fraud prevention. Guess what? Criminals do as well, so they're quite good at it. So we need to get better at understanding how we can use tools, how we can use the information within the industry for companies such as yourselves to actually find good preventative solutions which actually make the journey for the genuine customer better, but for the disingenuous customer, the fraudsters, puts the friction in for them, and that's what we're trying to do.
So how has Resistant helped you achieve those goals?
Well, so when we met at CIFAS, unfortunately we met you 10 days too late. We suffered a fraud. Now, it was a high value vehicle. It was a Lamborghini which we financed for the best part of £86,000 with on top of that was a £50,000 deposit which came through, and of course all the sales guys were thinking, oh great, we've got £130,000 worth of business here. 4 months down the line the payment stopped being paid, so we called in, so what's going on here? The £50,000 that we saw was completely fake. We found that out because we obtained the copy bank statements, we ran them through your system, and immediately it glowed up like a red beacon. You know, there was many multiple things that were changed on that bank statement, including the £50,000 deposit, which didn't actually exist at all. So we'd ended up financing a £130,000 vehicle with a £50,000 deposit, which just didn't exist, based on bank statements to substantiate their income, which again were completely fraudulent. We just wouldn't have done that. When we started investigating that further, it spread out into many other cases. So 18, 19 other cases. There was a significant amount of fraud in there. Now, whilst we were able to recover a lot of it through vehicles and recoveries, the amount of resource that takes to actually get that back is very difficult to quantify. It's a lot easier to stop it in the first place, and also you're stopping the criminal fraternity as well.
So what kind of an ROI have you seen with using Resistance so far?
Wow. So we have stopped up to 30 cases.
Wow. So
far. 30 genuine fraud cases so far. The figures I'm not going to lie about, you're touching £800,000 now. That is £800,000 of pure fraud prevented. And it's not that we might have just stopped a good deal coming through. That's actual fraud stuff. So somebody has actually changed the statement, somebody has changed the payslip. You don't do that unless you're trying to get finance disingenuously. So we have stopped just under £800,000. That's since the beginning of August last year. That's a return of 22 times. Yeah, so far.
In terms of how you're dealing with the lack of friction for good customers, how has that impacted your business?
Our underwriters maybe used to take, say, 30, 35 minutes to look at a case. Now that's not just for fraud prevention.
Yeah.
That's looking at can we check the income? Can we check the statements that are coming through? But there might have been 15 minutes or so of that, which is pure fraud prevention activity. Let's have a look, is that statement genuine? Is the payslip genuine? Do we need to make a phone call to the employees to make sure it exists? We use Resistant now to put that through. It gives us a decision to say it's high risk or not. Now, clearly we still need a human to make an informed decision on that information, but it's so much better. It's because we're saying actually it's more likely to be fraud or it's more likely to be genuine. The vast majority of cases are obviously genuine, and that means that the genuine customers have a frictionless journey, and it's quicker, and in a competitive market, people want finance quickly. So it works.
And in terms of the internal culture of the company, how has it?
So we've been trying to improve the fraud awareness culture, making sure that people understand what fraud are, what are the risks you're actually trying to find. Bringing in a sexy tool, if you like Resistant AI, has really enhanced our ability to do that because people are interested, people are also talking fraud. It takes 12 seconds for us to put an application through, or for us to put a document through to check. It takes far longer for us to say hello in the morning to someone than to actually put a document through to say it's high risk, it's not. So people talk about, people are excited, and all of a sudden they start seeing something which is potentially fraudulent. They start, okay, what else we need to look at? Therefore, it's enhancing the fraud culture, the fraud awareness culture. People are talking about it. Now, obviously not everything is always fraud and people just get overexcited, but what we're actually doing is we're enhancing that ability for to think fraud, to think risk prevention, to think fraud prevention. And it's been it is a game changer for us.
And working with the Resistant AI team, how has that been?
For me, this is one of the biggest selling points of Resistance. So quite often you bring a company on and they charge you a small fortune and they disappear, say, oh, deal with our support guys, and you might take a week or 2 weeks to get the answer through. With Yuri, with Justin and the team, for the first month it was weekly meetings, and what they did was they brought all of our guys together on a conference call, all our users together on a conference call. They looked at the documents that had gone through that week for us, and they were able to pick out individual documents and talk us through why the risk rating was that, and then give advice and guidance of what to expect. Now, I thought that was going to stop. No, not at all. It's become as frequent as we want it to be. The response time from Justin, from Jerry, has been absolutely amazing. The aftercare, the level of aftercare from the company has probably been the biggest selling point for us, because it works. We know it works. But in the events that a user doesn't quite understand something, we know we've got support on hand from Justin and the team. It's absolutely superb.
And so far you're still using Resistant manually, right?
Yeah. So for us, the biggest problem would have been integrating into systems, not because the Resistance is good, but because it's more difficult to integrate into our systems. We're going through an upgrade, etc. at this moment in time. So what we're doing is we're using it as a standalone link, and it works well, because our underwriters are looking at something and say, okay, documents come through, let's do a manual check. At the same time, they're able to assess it, they get a full breakdown of exactly what scanner's telling them, and then they can help them make an informed decision.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Kit.
Thank you. Cheers, Joe. Thanks very much. Cheers.